couple announcements before we begin, real quick ones. Again, we are still playing Star Trek Adventures. We have not switched systems. We are, again, very much learning the system, so expect us to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Just for those of you who watch this later on, I've been messing with the audio settings a little bit, so if the audio is completely out of whack, I apologize. Just shoot me a message either on Twitch or Twitter, and I'll keep messing with it. Last thing of note is that Ensign Monday will not be joining us for the first hour or hour and a half or 2 hours. So in the meantime, I'll just be NPCing him. But unless anybody else has anything, I think we're good to go for the Captain's Log.
Alright, Captain's Log. Stardate 48314.2. My crew and I are finally aboard the Arcadia. She's indeed a fine ship. After meeting some of my junior officers, as well as Sergeant Ujesa, our Klingon exchange officer, we began our Shakedown cruise. As part of our Shakedown, Admiral Haru has tasked us with scanning the nearby crystalline nebula. While en route, we are to engage in a combat simulation Starfleet has put in place for us. After destroying our first probe, we discovered a critical malfunction with our port phasers. At the recommendation of my senior officers, I decided to finish the combat simulation before returning to Narendra Station for repairs. Clearly, the training simulation in this asteroid belt is a trap. An Orion captain appears to have set it, but setting a trap so close to a Federation space station is bold, even for an Orion. I can't help but speculate the possibility our phaser array may have been sabotaged.
Very good, very good. So, as he said, you all have gone through, at least partially, a training little scenario that Starfleet has set up in a asteroid belt nearish a crystalline nebula. And so far, as he said, you've dealt with a few targeting or combat drones. You've run some scans, and pretty much out of nowhere, almost as if the ship was running on silent at minimal power, a Orion Corsair made itself known, and you were hailed by a Orion slave woman, which, again, for those of you not familiar with the Orion, it's usually the women who are in control. But she has currently said something along the lines of, your ship will be mine, prepare to be boarded, etc., etc. So we are jumping right back into where we left off at last session. She's just finished speaking her first line. What would you all like to do?
Could you repeat that first line?
So her first line, and I'm probably going to butcher it a little bit because I'm doing it from memory, but she says, another fly has come into my web. Oh, how I will delight in taking your ship apart from scrap and press-ganging your crew into slavery.
All right. Did she give us her name?
No, she has not identified herself as of yet.
All right. Orion vessel, this is Athos Tahan, captain of the USS Arcadia, a Federation starship. Please identify yourself.
The slave woman just kind of laughs and says, "Oh, that's cute. You think that if we're on a first-name basis, that'll change anything. Fine, I'll indulge you a little bit. I am Etha."
Very well. Etha, are you aware of how close this trap of yours is to Federation space?
Oh, that's what
Clearly,
makes it...
you haven't thought this through.
Oh, no, you see, I've thought it through quite well. It's actually quite brilliant. Starfleet would never expect a vessel being undergoing training to encounter one of me. It makes it so... what is the word I'm looking for? Unexpected.
I'm going to turn to Sergeant Ujesa and tell her to cut the comm. I'll just say screen off, or whatever. What do you say here?
Well, there's multiple ways. You can do the Picard thing across your neck to cut the open line. You can tell her just to screen off, but that'll kill the communication line.
I'll just say in transmission, And then Ensign Monday, we're changing the rules of this game. Return to Narendra Station, evasive maneuvers.
All right, Captain. And this is where we're going to enter Starship combat. So I'm going to say you guys are going to go first.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would also like to say red alert. Hands to battle stations.
Very good. Very good. I think unless there's any objections, let's do Monday first. So as an evasive action, he is daring plus con, which I'll roll. And who's doing the ship this time? Still Tahan?
I can do that. That's fine.
Okay. You're going to be rolling the Arcadia structure plus con. So let me do daring plus con for Monday.
And I think we have 3 momentum. Is that correct?
According to my notes, you have 2, but I'll let you have 3. Why not?
All right.
We should also be keeping track of the power. Does somebody want to do that specifically?
Pardon? Oh, you sure? Go ahead.
Okay. I should have some tokens around here that I can use for that.
Actually, if you click on the Arcadia's token on the map, the blue bar, the second bar, should be your power.
And that should be at full?
I'm doing it the same way as we're doing health, so the bar will fill up, and the closer it is to being filled, that's running out. I know it's backwards, but I just didn't want there to be confusion with the way we were doing health and the way we did power.
Okay.
But wow, okay. That gets you... What is that, 2 momentum? I believe?
So up to 5.
Yep, that gets you 2 momentum. So, Ensign Monday, very adept at the com. I can speak today. He masterfully turns the Arcadia and begins trying to evade the incoming Orion Corsair. So that will increase the difficulty of all attacks against the ship by a difficulty of 1, and it will cost 1 power.
Okay.
So I'll just go ahead and spin the ship a little bit. All right. So the Corsair is up now. And the Corsair, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to attempt to jam communications. So let me see. That would be control plus engineering. And it is a difficulty of, we'll say they're trying really hard to jam you. So they'll go ahead and see what we can do. So that would be this much. Yes, that would be the ship DC of that. Difficulty of 2. Well, the good news is what happens is when the Orion ship tries to jam the Arcadia's comm, either they just weren't expecting the robustness of your communication system, or they're just simply out of an effective range. There's like a momentary burst of static that Odessa just kind of twitches her head, as she's listening in, but other than that, nothing happens. So we return to the Arcadia's turn. Which officer would you like to go next?
Is that something I decide, or just as a group?
I mean, as a group.
Okay.
So we were able to raise shields as a free action, yes, at the start of the combat?
Yeah, I just let you have that.
Appreciate that. And what range are we at?
So the circles you see around the Arcadia, the green circle is close range, the blue circle is medium, and anything beyond that is long or extreme.
Okay. So we get to say the Orion Corsair is at long range right now?
Correct.
That is optimal range for photon torpedoes.
Ooh, very nice.
Who's at tactical?
That would be Odessa.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting off one of those. Anybody else have any other ideas for this turn in combat?
Well, I still have... Hell, lets us do 2 turns at a time, and that'll apply for Starship combat as well. So I could scan for pieces of the Corsair, and Ujessa could launch a torpedo after this.
I like that.
So I will say, just because it's something I just remembered, because you are taking evasive actions, it also increases the difficulty of your attacks as well.
That is true. Although, Does no wait, I'm something else. I thought there was. Yeah, never mind. I'm being dumb. Okay.
No, it's okay. So just so you are aware, the default difficulty of a torpedo is 3. So with the addition of 1, you'd be at a difficulty of 4 right now without any, kind of scanning or other such, actions.
Well, we can have it so one of us scans for weakness, and then Ujasa can aim and fire the torpedo, right?
I believe you can do that.
Actually, you can't aim in Starship combat. In fact, I
okay.
had this conversation today on official forums. So,
Fair enough.
Yeah. Does Monday have precise evasion talents?
Let me double check. No, he just has helm operations.
I do want to say that Maddoc has no idea why Red Alert went off. Last contact we had was, hey, it's going to take a day at Narendra Station to fix this, and we're still working down here, so, yeah.
Okay. We'll get to you in the turn order very shortly, Maddoc, don't worry.
Sorry, has helm operations Alan?
Yeah, the evasive action was Monday doing the helm action.
Yeah, I'm just, do you have access to his talent list?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Am I looking for anything in particular?
Yeah, precise evasion.
He has flyby, push the limits, and technical expertise, so no.
That's unfortunate. I was just trying to get rid of that difficulty increase, but sadly that is not something apparently.
Yeah.
Actually, I wonder. Okay, Ujasa does not currently have any values.
No, she does not yet.
Okay. I was wondering if determination could be a thing, but I understand she's an NPC.
Okay, so do we want to go for my scanning for weaknesses and then Ujasa launches some torps?
I think that's... yeah. So is the ship's going to be assisting a check?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So the ship is assisting with sensors plus security, and the Risho will be doing control plus science, and this is at a difficulty of 1.
Well, no hope from the ship.
That's unfortunate.
I guess I should have waited for you to roll.
Sorry, one second. I'm just rereading scan for weaknesses to make sure I remember how it works properly.
That's all right. I've got the PDFs up too, so... Basically, if it succeeds, you get piercing 2, and it ignores 2 of the resistance per effect rolled, and if you want to buy any bonus d20s, you can add on additional damage die.
Ooh, okay.
So, a complication. When Risho goes to scan the Orion Corsair for weaknesses, several things happen at once. So he tries to, obviously pick out a point in their shields that might be a bit weaker, or some form of, basically a form of weakness, I'll say. But at the same time as you go to do this, Maddoc, down in the... because you're still in the phaser control room, yeah? Oh, did we lose Maddoc? I think we lost Maddoc. Alright, well, hopefully he comes back shortly, but what happens is at the same time as you go to scan, one of the EPS conduits nearest to where the current engineering crew is in dealing with the phaser heatsink, one of the EPS conduits overloads and more or less stops your scan dead in its tracks.
That's unfortunate. So, The scan doesn't work then because it was successful.
I'm gonna still give it to you. You got enough information before the sensors kind of went, but
Okay.
yeah. So you still have the piercing 2 quality. Do you still want Ujesa to fire off the photon torpedo?
I think that would be best.
Yeah, how much momentum should we spend to give her? Because she needs 4 successes, right?
Correct.
She needs 4 successes.
Because it's
evasive
3
action.
plus evasive action. Is that?
Yeah, that's
Or is
correct.
it?
Right. Right. 3. Yeah. Torpedoes are 3.
All right. Let me just look at her
Beta.
focuses real quick. She does not appear to have this as a focus, so I'd say maybe we spend 3 momentum to give her 2 extra die.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Alright.
So
So
we're down to 2.
Yeah. So the ship is going to roll weapons plus security, and I'll go ahead and roll Ujesa's control plus security. Let's see. Control. Difficulty of 3. Well, I'll put in 4. Control plus security.
And since we did buy 2 extra dice, that's going to be 2 extra challenge dice of damage if we hit because of the scan for weakness.
Yeah.
Focus.
And it also has, what, piercing 2?
Yeah. Ooh, Ujesa did not roll that. Hold on. Why is her control 1?
That's not right.
Yeah, that's not right. Let's check that sheet real fast.
Maybe it's supposed to be 10 or 11?
Oh, well, now I gotta actually pull up my PDF and look. Hold on.
All right. I'm holding off on the ship assist.
Yeah,
But
something.
I imagine it's at least 2 successes. Because I imagine the 10 and the 12 are probably successes.
Right, let me just pull up, because I have backup sheets. Yeah, her control's supposed to be 7, not 1. I don't know how that happened.
Oh,
Alright,
Okay.
so I probably need to change that on her sheet later, because that still doesn't seem right, but we'll do it later. So unfortunately, yeah, she's going to miss with that photon torpedo.
well, she gets 1 success.
Right, but we need 4.
Right. And there's no way that I get 3 successes here. Nope.
Well, we
Just
got
one.
1. So Ujesa does her best to try and lock onto the Corsair and fire off a photon torpedo, but the either the Corsair is just too fast and dodges out of the way, or the torpedo just flies aimlessly into the belt behind the Corsair. All right. So I believe it's now the Corsair's turn. And what the Corsair is going to do is it's going to move into range. About to here. And it's going to do something very similar to what you guys just did. So its helm operations just went. It's going to spend threat to keep momentum. And it's going to try to open fire on the Arcadia. So, Richaud, your scanners, such as they are, pick up the fact that the Corsair's disruptor banks have begun charging. And we'll see what happens.
Race.
Yep, pretty much. So ship DC is 9, difficulty of 2. Yes, it does appear that you guys are going to get hit by some disruptor fire. So the Corsair's banks, or I should say array, not banks, emit a steady pulse of green energy towards the Arcadia. And you guys are going to take... Let's see. Wow. All right. So that would be 6 damage to your shield. Don't forget resistance, which should be 3.
Okay.
So you would subtract 3 from that. But because it rolled an effect, and because disruptors give an additional damage on an effect, your total damage is actually going to be 7 minus 3. So grand total of 4.
And it's using an array, right?
Yes.
So the problem with being a rules lawyer is it works both ways. So with an array, when an affected roll gets a second hit at half damage, so our resistance is going to eliminate 3 of those, 4. So it's going to do another damage as well.
Wait, I thought arrays let you get. Hold on.
Okay, so the array allows you to do an area effect or a spread effect, and there's no reason the Corsair would do an area effect because we're the only ship that's attacking.
Okay. Yeah.
So the spread effect does multiple hits, which is really good, especially if you reduce resistance, which 4 is not doing.
All right. So that's 5 damage after resistance.
Yep.
Yeah. Which, yeah, it wouldn't be enough to breach because it's from 2 separate sources.
Yep. Still, they look really good.
Interestingly enough, it's to a random system other than the original target.
Yeah, well, it's to a random system, so it can still be the target.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Okay.
But neither was enough to breach.
Actually,
Yeah.
That's the key thing. No breaches here.
And this doesn't meet the rule of 5 because it's technically 2 attacks. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Good.
At least that's my understanding of it, anyway.
That's my interpretation. I don't ruling this.
So, obviously, the Corsair's disruptors strike the Arcadia in the aft shields. And as is stereotypical in Star Trek, the ship rocks a little bit. And Ujasa at Tactical says, "Minor damage to aft shields, Captain."
Okay.
And we'll go to the Arcadia. So we have Ujasa's gone, Monday's gone, Rashou's gone. That leaves either Maddoc or the captain.
Not necessarily taking my turn yet, but I'm going to captain to engineering. Lieutenant Maddoc, can you do anything to restore our shields? We've got Orion disruptor phaser coming at us.
Yeah, I can work on that, Captain. When did the Orion show up?
They were always here.
Great, that's fucking wonderful. I can either, now that we have half the weapons down, can either reroute that extra power to shields, or I can reroute it to engines. What do you want?
So, out of metagame, which do we think is better? What does getting extra power to engines do for us?
I would say it would get you out of the system quicker, assuming you are still fleeing. I would say it would probably also restore a bit of power. Basically, you would be doing Maddoc would be doing a power management at a difficulty of 1 instead of the normal 2. And the difference is either basically you're going to get a power back or you're going to regenerate some shields. It's one of those 2 tasks, I would think.
Okay. I feel like since we're down to almost half of our shields, we should... Well, not quite, but... I'd feel better if we had more shields, personally.
Alright. Rerouting additional weapons or excess weapons power to shielding.
Alright. So normally doing this would require a power of 1, but since you are rerouting the extra energy from the port phase array, I'm going to let you not even worry about the power requirement this one time. So Maddoc, you're going to roll control plus engineering at a difficulty of 1, and the ship will be assisting with structure plus engineering.
Would power systems pop in as a value? Or as a focus, I mean?
I would say yes. Ooh, very nice. So I will say, and I could be wrong on how you spend this, so you can spend some momentum to get more shields, but I'm not sure if it has to be before you do the roll or whether you can do it after the roll.
It's after the roll.
Okay.
Yeah, it's if you generate any additional momentum, that's when you spend the shields.
Okay.
So that was how many? That was 3 successes.
Yes.
I mean, so we net 2 momentum. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for each
how much-
momentum you spend, it's another 2 shield back.
Ooh.
How much shield did I recover as is? If
Base is 2.
okay.
Okay.
So do we want to? We could spend one more and just drop down to 1 block of shielding, if y'all want.
That's
That
fine
leaves
with
us
me.
with what, 3?
We'd have only 1 shield gone at that point.
Right, but that leaves us with what, 3 momentum?
Oh yeah. And the second one would only get us half value.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
All right. Make it so.
Click, click, click.
Yes.
All
All right. And so that'll be the Arcadia's turn. We go back to the course. Oh, go ahead.
Do we get to do the double turn thing still?
If you spend the momentum to do it, yes.
Well, it's still pack tactics. My talent allows us to do it for the first round without spending the momentum.
I keep forgetting about your talent.
Okay.
So conceivably, yes, you could go Tom.
All right. Well, let's do that. I have a question though. Are there any other ships at the Narendra Station?
There are several ships that you are aware of at station. I mean, you saw a few coming in on the runabout. It's just a matter of sending a hail in that general direction if you want to raise a specific ship or the station itself.
Yeah, I'm gonna. And they're only 10 minutes away by warp, correct?
15, but close enough.
Okay. I am going to send that. Is that a whole action to send a communication?
I believe so. Let me check. Hailing frequencies open would be control plus engineering, assisted by communication plus engineering on the ship with a difficulty of 0.
Okay. And for my minor action, I could switch consoles and just go over and do that.
I would say that even though the bridge of the Arcadia is small, it has that captain's readout or station that kind of pops out of the central table area between you and the exo chair. So you could conceivably do it. Yeah, you can conceivably do it there.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do that and send a communication to the station to send any available ships.
Okay.
And tell them the situation that an Orion Corsair has set a trap.
Okay. Go ahead and do the roll because good momentum gain here.
So it's con engineering.
It is control plus engineering for you, and then the ship is communications plus engineering.
And difficulty 0, correct?
Correct.
Con engineering, and I do have focus in subspace communications.
I'll let you have it.
All right. Wow.
Don't forget to roll for the ship.
Well, if I don't make a success, I can roll for the ship.
Well. The good news is it's difficulty 0, so I'm gonna give it to you.
It still happens.
I'm gonna give it to you anyway. So you sent out a communication. I will say though, because you didn't succeed, you're not gonna get a reply back instantly.
Okay.
But yeah. Now it's the Corsair's turn, I think. So the Corsair is going to spend a couple of threat here, and what'll happen is one of the asteroids, one of the larger rocks in this asteroid field, this one down here in particular, is going to shudder and then begin rocketing towards the Arcadia. So it'll get to about here before it has to make the roll. So I'm doing the ramming speed rules on this. So the good news is as this asteroid comes hurtling at the Arcadia, we'll say Monday catches it just in time and maneuvers the Arcadia, does kind of like a not a barrel roll, but whatever the actual the terminology is. So it kind of pitches the Arcadia 90 degrees to starboard, and the asteroid goes sailing past harmlessly into the rest of the asteroids and is more or less slamming into other rocks and is no longer a threat. So I'll just go ahead and get rid of that asteroid. But that is the Corsair's turn, so now we go top of the initiative order, unless I've forgotten someone. And I believe it is the Corsair's first go around. Yeah.
Yeah. What scale is a Corsair?
It is only a scale 3, so same size as you guys. So, the Corsair is going to once again try to disable you with its disruptor fire. So we'll see how well that goes. Difficulty of 2. All right, it will in fact hit you. Apparently, its ship is just not doing good today, which is good for you. So you're only going to take 4 damage minus 3, so you're only going to take 1 damage from this. And this time we'll say it hits you on the starboard side more often than not. And Ujessa just kind of laughs at this. She says, "You know, I was expecting so much more, Captain. I would have thought these Ptah would have more fight in them."
Let's not count them out just yet.
Aye, aye, sir. And we'll go back to the Arcadia. So who would like to go first?
So I'm considering taking the direct action, which I can only do once per scene.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just reading. I have a question. When we scan for weaknesses, we no longer gain that benefit, correct?
I believe it's
Or is that-
it's a per round action. I think.
Yeah, it'll stay up until my next turn.
Yeah.
If it succeeds, then the vessel's next attack before the end of the sensor operation.
Or I was saying something else then.
But we've already used an attack this turn.
Correct.
Alright, and so what range is the Corsair at now? Is it medium?
Uh-oh, you roboted there for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Range for the Corsair? Is this medium now?
Yeah, if you're in the blue circle, that would be medium range.
Okay, and that is ideal for phasers, correct?
Correct.
Well, phaser arrays and cannons.
We have phaser cannons?
No, we don't have phaser.
You have an array, last I
Bang.
checked.
Cannons
Alright.
are...
Alright, what I'll do is... It's a difficulty 2 to attack with the phasers, correct?
Correct.
Do you just want to get off another phaser fire? I think the my direct will probably be more useful for when we are shooting a photon torpedo, because that's a little bit harder to hit with.
Well, the phaser arrays are actually viable than the photon torpedoes.
Oh, that's right.
Just the way it works. Actually, I haven't looked at the Nova class. It's going to be different than I did playtest with. So maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I'm speaking too soon.
Our phaser does 6 die.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not terrible.
It's actually slightly more than... No, it's 5.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's 5.
Sorry, the PDF is small on my screen. Okay, 5. It's the same as the videos, though. So,
if you
yeah, I guess we could
want to do the rally action and just generate some momentum, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
yeah, I can do that a
Or
second
you
time.
can direct, and we could take 2 attacks this round without any penalty. That'd be good. Yeah, I don't know. There's lots of options.
Yeah, I like that. I like the direct. So because that can also generate momentum. Yeah, I will direct Vegeta to attack with photon with our phaser arrays, with obviously the spread ability, but the spread, not the other one.
You roboted through half of that, unfortunately.
I'm sorry.
I
It's
think
a
we're attacking
vertical.
phaser arrays. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold
Yeah.
on. Let me switch our server real fast because the server we're on is messing up. So hopefully this doesn't kick everyone, but 1 second. Save changes. Alright, is everyone there?
Yeah.
Here.
Okay, yeah, I switched this to US Central, so hopefully no more robot. So as you were saying.
Yeah, I'm going to use my direct action to tell Sergeant Ujesa to use the phaser array.
Okay. And direct, I believe, reduces the... you assist with your command, that's what it is.
Yeah, and they get to take it on as my action.
Okay. So Ujesa is going to go ahead and fire up the starboard phaser arrays. And let's see how she does. So hers is control plus security. Yeah, there's no way her control's that low. There's no way. So difficulty 2, security, number of d20. Do you want to give her any momentum, or?
Well, she's going to be assisted by the ship and me. I don't think we need to. I'm wondering what my assist check is. I know it's command, but which attribute?
Oh, that is a good question. I would say, and again, I'm probably doing this wrong. I would say for you, it would be control.
Okay.
Do we have any momentum to spend?
We've got 3. We can spend 1.
Yeah, I would say we should.
Alright, she gets a 3rd die.
Okay, I'll roll another 1d20 here. Survey says she does actually get a success, so you can go ahead and roll for.
I'm curious if my team dynamics comes into play for focus.
Yeah, you are working as a team. I don't see why not.
All right. Oh, it's a 19.
Okay. The ship is going to be weapons plus security, so maybe the Arcadia can get you that last success you need.
Another 19.
Oh wow! All right, so
Does Ujessa not have a security score? Or?
no, the problem with Ujessa, for some reason, I think what happened is her daring and her control got mixed up.
Okay.
And I mean, I'll go through it during the break or when we have some downtime and you guys are RPing. But for the time being, it's just she ain't hitting shit.
Right.
So the starboard phaser arrays, go kind of hum and then fire out a beam of energy towards the Corsair, but it doesn't hit at all. It just goes wide.
5 dice and only 1 success.
Oh, them's the
business.
bones.
All right.
So
That's my turn.
Did you want to spend momentum to make it another person's turn, or should I just go ahead to the Corsair?
Let's hold on to the momentum we have, I think.
I agree.
Okay. So, for the Corsair's turn, it is once again going to attempt to jam communications, because as far as they're aware, you haven't squawked and made basically they're trying to keep you from sending out an SOS, but you already have, and they just don't know it. Anyway, so let me go ahead and roll for them. Ryan roll, ship DC, we'll make it a difficulty of 2. So no, once again, they try to jam your comms to no avail. We go back to the Arcadia. Who's going up now?
I think this should probably be Risho's turn.
That could be Richaud's, it could be Monday's, it could be Maddoc. It's all up to you guys. Or it could be Ujesa again.
Well, before Ujessa goes again, I think we should get Monday to do an attack pattern so we can give her any kind of bonus we can.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And I've got an idea for Risho. I'm just trying to figure out. So let's go with Monday first, and once I figure out if I can do what I'm doing,
Okay.
I will suggest it.
I like that.
Very good. So for the attack pattern, Monday will be rolling daring plus con. The ship will be assisting with weapons plus con.
Okay.
So daring, difficulty 2, con, number of d20, yes.
And I need to remember that whenever the ship is rolling, it always counts as having a focus.
Yep. It should pop up additionally with green if it does have that focus. So yeah, Monday will succeed by himself, but let's see if the Arcadia will give you some more momentum.
Oh, it did not.
Oh, you were above me. That's why I was like, where is it?
Yeah, I'm a little quick on the draw.
No, it's okay. Well, the good news is you do gain 1 momentum because of that 1. So the Arcadia switches from being evasive to moving around in a more aggressive pattern. We'll say get you about there. And until Monday's next turn, all attacks made by the ship reduce in difficulty by 1. And this costs a power 1.
I adjusted it already.
Okay, cool.
All right, and so retaining the initiative would cost 1 momentum.
It's 2 momentum.
Yeah, I think it's
Sure.
2.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm wondering if that's worth it to get our attack in first, but it's probably not.
Given how well she's rolling,
Yeah,
I'm gonna say probably not.
I agree.
I mean,
Dice Mojo is real.
yeah, for sure. And just with the stats being where they are,
Mhm.
it might almost be a good idea for me to take over tacticals because I can be rolling.
I mean, if that's a character decision Risho makes, the captain's not going to stop him.
Yeah, that's not something we're showing. Character, I was just as a power gamer, that would be what I would do, but that's not what Risho would do. All right.
Okay. So, unless there's any complaints, we're going to go back to the Corsair. And the Corsair is going to spend some more threat and send another asteroid hurtling towards you. We'll do this one up here. So this asteroid starts hurtling towards the Arcadia. Survey says, ooh, it will actually hit you. So the asteroid screams through space to the Arcadia and slams into her port shields. The shields are strong enough to deflect the asteroid so it doesn't smash into the ship proper, but you definitely take some damage here. So let me double check what I had for damage on these guys. So they deal 3 damage with spread and vicious. So the good news is it only does 2 damage to you, which doesn't even get past your resistance.
The resistance is always equal to scale, correct?
I believe so, yes.
All right.
Yeah, apparently these Orion were expecting a smaller ship to slam asteroids into.
Doesn't get much smaller. What were they expecting?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But it is now back to the Arcadia. We now have either Risho or Maddoc, I believe. Or Ujesa. Either one.
Captain.
Yes.
I don't know what it is they're using to launch these asteroids at us, but I'm wondering if we might be able to turn that against them. It's taking away resources that put you attacking Corsair, but I'd like to scan the asteroid, try and figure out what it is they're doing to launch them at us.
Or if we could possibly take over those controls.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it.
All right. What do you think for that?
I'm thinking sensor sweep.
That was my... So, reason plus science, aided by sensors plus science.
Yep, so the ship is going to roll sensors plus science, and I'm going to make this a difficulty 1, simply because there is a little bit of jamming from the Corsair between the asteroids and you guys. All right, 2 successes, very good. All right, so you gain 2 momentum, I believe. Yes, 2 momentum.
Okay,
so,
and sorry,
no, go ahead.
We're using the was on. Each member of the bridge crew gets certain bonuses to do things, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Whenever I do a task, as the operations officer, whenever I do a task using the sensors, I gain bonus momentum that can only be spent on asking a question. So my question is going to be, how is he launching the asteroids at us?
So you're going to know that the Orion ship sends out a coded message to each asteroid, which has a control system attached to some pretty nice thrusters on the back of these asteroids. Your understanding of how it is it's so simple that you could conceivably send your own control signal to these asteroids and send them flinging at the Corsair.
Let's
I think I've worked out what exactly it is they're using to launch those asteroids at us, and unless I miss my mark, I think I can turn the tables on them.
I will point to on like the console the one closest to the Corsair. I want to ask you to fire that one. And I think we should spend our 2 momentum to do this now. Right?
The captain.
I mean, no, like unless anyone disagrees.
I don't disagree. I am curious what my task is going to be.
So for the asteroid, it's just going to be a flat. Well, I'll tell you what. Because initially the asteroids are all just a flat 10 that you're rolling against, but because you got so many successes, I'm going to say you can roll it against a 12.
Okay. So I'm just straight up rolling 2d20?
Yep, 2d20, less than 12, and you're looking for 2 successes.
Bam.
Well, there you go. So, the asteroid nearest to the Corsair begins hurtling towards it. And I'd like you to go ahead and roll me damage. It's 3 die. And we'll see what happens.
Can we spend momentum to get piercing?
I'll let you do it. Why not?
All right, we're down to 2 momentum.
We're down to 2 momentum? I thought we had 4 and we just spent 2 so I could go a second turn.
We were at 5. We spent 2 to go to second turn. That was at 3. And now if you're spending another 1 to get piercing, we're at 2.
I'd like to spend 2 to get piercing 4, so we'll ignore 4 resistance on the Orion.
Okay.
Very good.
That will put us to 1 momentum.
Cool. We'll roll 3 dice and hopefully not have wasted those momentum.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, the good news is you definitely hit that thing and do some damage. So, the Orion Corsair was not expecting this in the slightest. So, their own asteroid is sent hurtling towards their aft and impacts the ship. And unlike you guys, where you guys were able to shrug off the asteroid more or less, this asteroid sends the Corsair into a tailspin. And let me just double check. So I have written down that it has spread and vicious, but you guys didn't roll any effects, so that doesn't come into play.
Yeah, that won't come into play.
Okay. So the Corsair definitely is sent into a tailspin, and for sake of arguments, I'm going to say that it probably moves to about here. Spin it around for flavor, and we'll get rid of that asteroid. All right. Cool. Good stuff. I was waiting to see if you guys would figure that out. I believe it's the Corsair's turn, though. So the Corsair is going to attempt to move into the nebula. I believe that is a... what is it? It's not a plot core. It's a maneuver actions. That's what it is. So the Orion Corsair is going to attempt to maneuver through the asteroid belt to get into the nebula. So I'm going to go ahead and roll for them. Ship DC should be that. The difficulty should be 1 because of the asteroids they're trying to dodge. And they get it. So the Corsair disappears into the nebula. And it's now you guys' turn. I believe we now have Maddoc and Ujesa left.
Monday already did attack pattern
Yes.
this round? Okay.
Since I'm still in the heatsink room, is there anything I need to be doing because the weapons were overheating?
Well, no. So far, you guys have not used the port array, so you're golden on that respect. I would say, Maddoc, you probably are like halfway towards engineering or the bridge at this point, unless you wanted to go somewhere else on the ship. But
I think I just kind of figured I would stay in engineering in case anything happened.
Okay.
Unless I got called to the bridge.
Trying to think. I guess power management would not be terrible right now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or shields.
Yeah, I guess I'll try to reroute power to get the shields back up.
Okay. So regenerate shields, or did you want a power management? Because they are similar tasks, but they are different.
Uh, what's the difference in them, I guess?
Well, the shield restores shields, and the power restores power.
Restoring shields also costs power.
I'll say restore power first,
Okay.
and then we can worry about shields because we have a lot of shields.
Okay. So for you, it would be either daring or control plus engineering, and that would be a difficulty +2.
Is this something the ship assists on?
I believe no. It is one of the rare actions that the ship cannot assist on.
Okay.
All right,
There you
very
go.
good. So you gain back 1 point of power. And yeah, that's pretty much Maddoc's turn.
Right.
So we're going to just go ahead and drop the turn order for a moment. So, on the Corsair's turn, they've disappeared into the nebula. And you get a transmission. It's garbled, and it seems to be encrypted somewhat, at least to mask where in the nebula the Orion Corsair is. And it's the same woman, Etha, that talked to you before. And when you get the signal, Ujesa just kind of looks at you, Captain, and she says, I'm getting an incoming communication from the Orion Corsair. Should I patch it through, Captain?
Yes.
Okay, so the view screen pops up. You see Etha again, and she looks kind of pissed. Like this has not gone as well as she had hoped. And she almost snarls as she says, "This is not over. You'll be seeing me again in the future." And then she'll cut off.
Behind bars.
Yeah, like
I was going to cut it off.
Yeah, I would say like there's a race between you two to who cuts it off first. So it's hard to tell who won. But for the moment, you guys are out of combat. Do as you will.
Captain to Engineering, Maddoc, could you speculate on whether our phaser array had been sabotaged?
That's something I can look at while we try to get back to Narendra Station. Best guess though, it's probably just the refit. But yeah, myself and Alon, we can go check to see if it was sabotaged or not.
I'd like to look into that.
Captain. So yeah, I guess I'll go see if we got sabotaged or not.
Okay. So, as you guys prepare to leave the asteroid field behind, Monday will pipe up and says, Captain, weren't we supposed to scan something in the nebula first, or do we just not want to do that?
That's going to take a back seat to this situation.
Aye, sir. All right.
Captain, before we leave, permission to launch a probe into the nebula, see if we can pick up any trace of the Orion ship and where it might have gone?
Let's do that.
All right.
I'll probe.
All right, so Rochelle, you send out a probe, and it goes hurtling past the asteroids between you and the nebula, goes into the nebula, and you get a couple things. I'm not going to have you roll for it because it's trivial. The first thing you're going to...
Momentum.
Oh, this is true. You know what? Let's roll for it because it could give you momentum. So it doesn't require roll. It doesn't require difficulty.
Never mind.
Yeah, I was to say, as I read that, I was like, So anyway, you get two things. The first thing you get is a warp signature for the Corsair. You can see that they are on the other side of the nebula and that they are charging their engines for warp. The second bit of information you're going to get is you actually are able to get a ping off of the drone in the nebula you were supposed to scan in the first place. So when you get the readout for that, the scans show up normal. So you have inadvertently handled the task you were sent here to do.
I'll relay that information.
All right.
I'm gonna ping real quick. Captain, you think it might be a good idea to maybe leave a message about this area saying we just got ambushed by Orions, and so that way any more ships that might come here from Narendra or any other stations or Shakedown crews, they're aware. That way they don't end up like we almost did.
Yes, we can do that while you look into the phaser. We'll get about doing that now.
All right.
So it's actually right about now that Ujesa kind of puts a hand to her ear, and I'm doing her comms like stereotypical TOS because I think it's better. She kind of puts a hand to her and she says, "Captain, a incoming communication from the USS Verdant."
Okay, put it through.
All right, so on the screen, you see another Starfleet bridge, and you see another human female. She looks to be about the same age as Janeway, if I had to qualify, though she has a few tasteful streaks of gray in her hair. She looks like a combat veteran. She even has a small scar across her right cheek. And she, as soon as the communications are open and you all can see each other, she says, "This is Captain Hirona of the USS Verdant. We received your distress call. Is everything okay, Arcadia?"
Yes, there was an Orion pirate who had set a trap in this nebula for unsuspecting Federation spacecraft. We have driven them away, but they have since gone to warp.
Okay. And it's about this time, for those of you who are at sensors, you're going to see this warp into the nebula. But to reply to the captain, Hirona says, "Well, now that we're on station, we can see about resetting the Shakedown cruise test. And maybe if we're lucky, we can also track down this Corsair."
Aye. In the meantime, we are going to make sure that the Federation communication probes in this area do reflect the fact that there has been traps being there.
Of course. We'll send out some warning buoys as well.
Distance.
Very good. So, Hirona kind of shouts an order at one of her fellow bridge crew to do such actions, and before she ends communication, she says, "Oh, and Captain, I know this isn't a good way to welcome you to the sector, but I look forward to maybe working with you in the future."
Likewise.
And she just kind of nods, and the screen goes blank. But yeah. So, did you want to warp straight back to Narendra Station, or do something along the way?
I do not want to go back just yet.
Okay.
I'm still waiting on the report from Maddoc, however long that needs to take.
So, Maddoc, I need you to roll me a insight plus engineering here to see what you can learn about the EPS conduit that is overloaded. Or the plasma conduit, sorry. I mix up my technobabble there.
Difficulty?
We'll say difficulty 2.
I know my ship, so I add a d20 to determine source of a technical problem with ship. Would that
Oh yeah.
add in?
Oh yeah.
3. And then I guess power systems would be a focus that could apply. That's the only focus I have.
I'm going to say no on this point because
No?
it's more of just a heat conduit kind of thing. It's not
Alright.
power management per se. Okay. So as you have you and your teams, look at this conduit even more, you do come to the realization that this conduit that is feeding the plasma both to the phasers and away from them to cool it off and whatnot, you realize that the conduit itself has been weakened on a micro level. Almost as if someone who was working on this conduit very deliberately released some sort of corrosive agent. And obviously this should come as a shock on some level, because this definitely suggests that it probably is sabotage.
Is there a... How much momentum do we have? 1? 2?
1.
1. Would I have to spend the last momentum in order to get an answer to, can I tell how long ago, like how long this corrosion has been going on? Like, is this something that happened as we entered the asteroid field, or is this something that could have happened back on the station?
I would say, yeah, you'd have to spend momentum to get that answer.
Okay. Everyone cool with that?
Yeah, we're going to lose at the end of the scene anyways.
Yeah.
One
All right,
second.
So,
Might have got free momentum for as the chief engineer succeeding a task on the ship.
Oh, right, because that reduced the difficulty to 1.
So you actually
Yeah,
have 2
exactly, the chief
momentum.
engineer gets. Well, if that is the case, it would be specifically to ask a question, just like mine was for using the sensors.
I believe so, yeah.
Is it an extra momentum or a difficulty reduction?
It's a difficulty reduction.
But since he succeeded, he gets another momentum.
Yeah.
Right. So we're technically at 2, but he's thinking of spending 1.
Correct.
Yeah, sounds good.
Perfect.
so y'all are okay with that?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So the answer to your question is it's twofold. At first, you get the sense that there was some sort of device that was attached to this conduit. A device that both emitted the corrosive agent and destroyed itself in the process. Like, you're getting very faint residual patterns of power systems that aren't consistent with the nearby internals of the ship. And the other bit of information you get is that this may have been on the ship for quite a while. Like, it's definitely hard to nail down, at a specific time, but your guess is that this could have happened either during the Arcadia's initial 2-year mission, or it could have been planted during the refit. You're just not sure.
Would I know if or if this is like a kind of Orion thing to do, or is this just like a coincidence kind of thing? Or is that the other momentum?
I would say you'd have to spend, another momentum to get that answer.
I mean, if we're gonna...
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'll spend it and ask that.
Okay. So it's not very typical of Orions to sabotage ships in this way, but your personal experience with the Orion Maddoc, you would know that they are, or at least can be at times, rather ruthless. and that their influence is almost scary at times at how good they are at getting things done that they want. So while it's not impossible, you are kind of left with this lingering question of, was this the Orion? Like I would say you were probably at about a 75% sure level that this might be them. But the implications of that are disturbing, to say the least.
Okay. So as of right now, it's only me and Alon who know it. Like, I want that kind of... And then I want to get, like, on a data pad and send a encrypted message to the captain and, like, to his console and have it say, like, look, yes, but I don't know when the device was planted. So pretty much everything I've just kind of learned, like, I don't know if this is just a coincidence that it happened to go out now, or if it was Orion sabotage. And I don't know if it was someone on the ship, someone on the station, or it could have been someone from the previous crew.
So, Captain, you get this message on your console. Uh-oh, he's muted. We've lost the captain. No. There he
Sorry,
is.
I was just talking through that whole thing. I'll reply on the console to Maddoc to meet me in the conference room. Instant Monday, since your player is not here, you have the bridge, and I want the rest of the senior staff in the conference room with me.
All right. So I'm just going to kick us on over to this big old map. And shift ping to get everybody on the right level. Would help if I pinged it on the right screen. Anyway. So, all the senior officers are going to meet in the conference room. And I would say that this is your second time in the room. You very briefly got to see it when your lovely quartermaster, Chief Otis, brought you through on your tour. But the conference room itself is almost like a Starfleet badge table in the middle. There are 6 chairs around it, and then 1 at the head. And at the foot, or the opposite side of the main head of the table, there is a holo projector of some sorts that could provide a 3D reference for you all.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Once everyone is in here, I've called you in here because the Arcadia was sabotaged. I suspected this because I don't believe the Orions are bold enough to set a trap this close to Narendra Station. And too many facts were inconvenient. Our engineer, Maddoc, has shown that it was indeed sabotage on the phaser relay, and I don't know if we can trust going back to Narendra Station. Frankly, I don't know if we can trust the Verdant, but I would like to. What are your thoughts?
So I did want to ask, as a point of order, did you bring Ujesa with you as well?
I did. I'm interested to see how she reacts to this.
Okay. Well, unless anyone butts in before Ujesa can get a word off, Ujesa will actually almost like slam the table with a fist, and she says, "Sabotage. I can't believe it. That is such a cowardice way to deal with your enemy. Do we know who did this, or who might have done this?"
Lieutenant Maddoc, do we?
I'm gonna be honest. There's no telling unless we get some way to figure out what the device was and try to figure out where on the station someone could, or who would have connections to get it, or if we need to go back through the Arcadia's logs and see if they had anyone come aboard that could have done it. I mean, it's not something I could tell that it happened. It could have happened anywhere between us taking off from the station to Arcadia's first shakedown run 2 years ago.
My suspicion is that it was placed at Narendra Station before we left. But you're right. We can't narrow any other possibilities out.
If you want, I can get with Alon and we can set up some engineering teams to sweep the entire ship and see if there's anything else that might stick out that's, sabotage wise.
I think we should do that. What I don't know is why anyone or how anyone at Narendra Station would have agreed to sabotage our ship.
It's speaking from personal experience, sir. Orions, they deal in money, but also it's, if someone has your family and they're telling you that you need to do this or they're going to kill your family or blackmail or anything like that, who knows if they're not above it?
Okay.
The Orions also aren't above disguising themselves as other species.
It's also my understanding that they can control other species with their pheromones, or is it they can only do that to their own kind?
Out of character, you would know that the female pheromones affect pretty much every male species except for Vulcans.
Okay.
Denobulans as well.
Oh, Denobulans. Oh, right, because that messes up their sleep schedule. I remember.
Yeah.
So it's possible that they were being blackmailed or coerced, but they could be being controlled directly by an Orion on the station.
Do we know if there's a way to see, this is like an out of character question, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if they ever were they would figure out a way to scan someone and be like, oh, this person, has the pheromones or has been around been around the Orion women to get the pheromones to be controlled.
I believe that would be a task for your chief medical officer, Dore. Dore would be the one to know.
Okay. And is he in the room, or is
what? Yeah, you did call senior officers, and Dore is a senior officer since he is the CMO. So yeah, he's in the room. I just won't move his token.
All right.
So, do you now want to ask that in character?
Yeah. I'll kind of turn to Dore and ask him. I mean, is there a way that we can scan to see if someone's been affected by the pheromones? We could start with the crew and then go from there.
He kind of tilts his head to the side in thought, and he says, I believe we could run such a scan, but obviously since they are pheromones, it would be very faint at this point, unless we have a Orion among the crew.
Do we have an Orion?
Well, a scan of the ship's internal sensors could determine that. I don't think there's one on the duty roster.
Yeah, there's definitely not one on the duty roster.
There's not any kind of inoculation or defense against these pheromones, is there, Doctor?
Not to my knowledge, unfortunately, Captain. They are quite potent, and is why the female Orion are typically, how to say, indomitable, perhaps?
Do you know how long the effects of these pheromones last outside the presence?
My understanding, sir, is that the effects are cumulative. The more pheromones you are exposed to, the more, I'll say, babbling idiot you become.
Okay. Thank you very much for your insight, Doctor.
Of course.
Willing to entertain any suggestions on methods to proceed?
So Jaisa will pipe up, and she'll say, Captain, if it's all the same to you, I'm going to work hand in hand with Lieutenant Cyril, and we're going to pull all the security logs on who came near that conduit and with your permission, I would like the ability to question any individuals that may have come into contact with that conduit.
And Sorrel is the Vulcan tactical officer?
Yeah, he is the bearded Vulcan that has the role of secondary tactical officer. He also plays security from time to time.
Okay. Well, we do know that Vulcans are resistant to this, so I agree. But these are members of our crew, so they are innocent until proven otherwise.
Hey, Jessa looks like she wants to say something, but she seems to think better of it. So her mouth kind of opens for a moment, but then it goes straight back to being closed.
Is the Verdant still outside the ship?
Oh yeah, the Verdant is still trawling through the asteroid field. It's both sending out a multitude of shuttles because the Steamrunner class, I probably should have mentioned that when I revealed the token, but since it's a Steamrunner class vessel, it has quite a number of shuttlecraft, and right now they are trying to reset the field so that there isn't a mass of combat drones to hit unsuspecting ships.
Okay. So I think Rochelle was about to say something.
Yeah. If we're going to be sticking around for a moment, I wouldn't mind taking a shuttlecraft to that final asteroid that was rigged up by the Orion ship. Maybe, if nothing else, at least disable it, or if possible, collect some information about the setup. Maybe we can trace the parts.
Possibly. Let's have that done, but I would like to just keep you on the ship for now.
Yes, sir.
And I think I'd like to invite the captain of the Verdant over to see if she knows anything about this situation, and also as a way for us to possibly discreetly scan her. And
Sir,
I'll say,
if I may speak freely,
yes.
is it our concern that the entire station may have been overrun by the Orion?
Yes.
Understood.
Hopefully that's not the case, but we can't afford it. We can't afford it if that is true. And I'll just say, if it ever gets to the point where you think I am too paranoid, it is your job to call me out on that. All right? And that's to the entire senior staff.
Okay. So all the supporting characters kind of nod and say more or less, "Aye, aye, sir."
Is Nealon here as well?
Sorry, who?
Nealon? Counselor?
Oh, yes. Spencer's character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nealon's here.
Alright, just want to... If anybody's going to... About the captain's mental health, I would assume it would be him first and foremost.
You've got a good point. So Nealon will say, at the moment, Captain, I think a healthy amount of paranoia is okay, but I would simply say that if the Orion have truly taken over the station as you fear, then we have a much bigger problem here than one ship can solve. I think it would probably be safe to not assume, but think that there might be a few Orion operatives aboard. Because, as I said, the implications otherwise would be, well, I don't think it needs to be said.
Counselor, would you be able to detect the altered mind state of these pheromones?
He kind of tilts his head to the side and he says, I am not an empath, but I suppose I could work in conjunction with Ujessa and see if any of the suspects have a altered thinking pattern that would be within my abilities.
If you think that would be prudent, I would like you to do that.
Of course, sir.
I want a show of hands of people on my senior officers who think there might be an Orion among the crew of this ship. I want to know what you guys think.
Well, Ujessa will raise her hand. But she might be the lone one, unfortunately.
I'll raise my hand as well.
All right, there's two.
When it comes to Orions, I'll raise my hand and then just kind of say, look, it's better to be safe than sorry. I'm sure whenever we scan everyone, I'm sure we'll figure out if there is an operative.
All right.
Then Rochelle is saying something, I think.
Yeah, Rochelle's hand will remain down. I think it's a little bit early to be jumping to conclusions, Captain.
I agree. Well, if there's anything else, I think we break, and I'm going to invite the captain of the Verdant on board.
Okay.
Doctor, would you meet me in the transporter room? And I'll let you know when I'm expecting you.
Aye, sir.
Okay. And I'm going to go back to the bridge.
Okay.
Dismissed.
All right, so you all break and go to your different departments. So we're just going to do standard down the line as we deal with everyone's different tasks. So Rochelle, what are you doing this time? It's probably about an hour before the captain of the Verdant is going to be able to come over.
Sure, we'll just be going over the logs from the probe, trying to work out possible vectors for the Orion's escape and where it might have gone, looking for any habitable systems or like known dens of inequity along the path of its warp signature, if that's even possible to find out.
It's a fair thing to do. Roll me a insight plus. Oh boy, maybe science on this one.
Difficulty?
Call it 2.
All right.
And this would be assisted by the ship?
I would say yeah. The ship would assist with sensors plus science. Why not?
Now, is that going to reduce the difficulty because of our advanced sensors?
Ooh, good point. Yes, it would. So it'd only be a difficulty of 1.
And I just realized that also would have come into play during combat.
Yeah, I'm just now realizing that as well, and I'm like, well, that would have made things easier.
So, sensor science?
Sensor science, yes.
Okay. We're learning this game still. Alright, I will wait for Rochelle's roll before assisting with the ship.
Yes, this is more of an investigation than actually using the sensors itself. Would the sensor operations focus come into play?
I believe so, yes.
Success.
Nope.
Alright, so you don't gain any momentum, but you do succeed, which is what really matters.
And seeing as I made it by the sensors, I will gain that 1 momentum to ask a question.
Okay. So before you ask your question, you will know that if the Corsair was to continue along the heading that you last tracked it on, it would pass by several Class D planets, and it is heading deeper into the Shackleton Expanse. And as the Shackleton Expanse is largely unexplored, you don't know it lies in that direction, unfortunately. There are no, there's no known, pirate stations along the way. There's no third-party, non-Federation stations that you know about. And since the planets are Class D, it's probably slim possibility that they have some sort of station set up on them.
Okay. So our knowledge of the Expanse is fairly... I want to ask for a question. Any suggestions?
Did you get the final destination? Sorry.
I got the vector. We don't know.
Okay.
I am trying to determine where they might have stopped off, but nothing is popping out as a likely candidate, it seems. There's nothing flashing red. Orion's party here kind of side. Fortunately.
I don't know if would you be able to ask another question if there are any. I don't know how long warp trails last, but if there are others that have gone to that vector.
Yeah, I guess so. Is the probe able to pick up any other non-Federation warp signatures in the area that it would be able to scan?
Yes, in fact, and it's a very good question. So, as I scroll up my notes here,
that.
yeah. So, as you use the probe to scan for additional warp signatures, you discover that there are probably about 5 unique ones. Again, they're very faint and fading, but sometime within the last 24 hours, there have been 5 different ships in this vicinity, and to your knowledge, the signatures that you're looking at are Orion in nature.
Based on that, and we don't have any of them, so I understand if you're just going to tell me now. Am I able to tell if the warp signatures originated from here, or if they were passing through?
They would originate from here.
Okay.
I guess it's just kind of a question to throw out. Can we tell if the warp signatures are from the same ship or different ships?
Oh, they're all different.
Okay.
All right. Rachel will start writing up a report of the information that he's been able to learn.
Very good.
Present it at a convenient time.
All right, let's move on to Maddoc. So, Maddoc, what are you doing? What are you doing during this time before the captain of the Verdun arrives?
I'm going to go to Lieutenant Dore and ask for one of his nurses to come with me to sickbay, or not sickbay, engineering. I'm going to have all my guys scanned, come up with some lie, just to make sure everyone's, okay, no one's injured, and, no one's adrenaline's keeping them from being stupid and not getting checked out. If everyone's cleared the pheromone scan, then I'm going to just start separating everyone out and just search the ship top to bottom, looking for anything that might be sabotaged as well. Okay.
So Dore himself will come with you, and he'll bring along a medical tricorder, and as you have requested, he will scan everyone working in engineering. The good news is nobody really comes up as being affected by pheromones. And the other thing he'll note before he'll return to sickbay is that I believe I mentioned Ensign Reeve before, yes?
Yeah. He came with me and Alon to work on the cooling stuff.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure if I had to reintroduce him or not. But he'll note that, and he'll do this privately to you, not right as he's scanning it, but he'll note privately to you that Ensign Reeve is showing some sort of anomalous reading in his cerebral cortex. Not like the pheromones would be affecting it, but there's something going on with his brain, obviously. He'd have to bring Ensign Reeve to sickbay to get a more detailed scan.
Okay. So I guess Alon and myself will team up with Ensign Reeve, and we'll go with him to search everywhere, to search sections.
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm just gonna tell Dore like if like I'll reach out to him to send security, or does he think that I need to have a security team on standby?
No, he thinks your guys are okay for the time being.
All right. Um. Yeah, so we'll just start searching for the ship, see if there's sabotage anywhere else.
Okay. Roll me a insight plus engineering at a difficulty of 2.
I determine source of technical problem with the ship. I know my ship.
Yep, that would apply. Hey, Monday's here too. Excellent.
Hello.
And does this also get reduced because you're the chief engineer?
I'm like 90% sure it does, but let's.
It's on the ship.
Oh, if my PDF would stop freezing up on me. There we go. Chief engineer, just double check. I probably should have had this page up before.
I've got it. When aboard the ship, the chief engineer always has the advantage engineering department, which represents the ship's complement of engineers and technicians. And so I believe advantage is reduced difficulty.
Yep.
In this case, yes.
All right.
Hey, oh yeah, Ensign Monday. Hello, welcome. You have the bridge right now.
Nice.
Well, your corpse does. It was a terrible combat. We're very sorry.
Yeah,
Character.
we tried to get you out of the
the
seat.
board decided to show up. I mean, shit just went sideways, man.
Well, it was fine until they assimilated the Q. Then they got way too much knowledge.
Oh man. Okay. So would you?
okay.
Oh wow. So
That's
you'll
what-
get.
So 4 successes. Is
yeah,
that a
that's 3 momentum, I think.
That's 3 more than we had.
Yeah. All right.
I guess that's almost true.
So, kind of a good news, bad news situation here.
God.
The good news is you don't, and this is probably going to keep you occupied while the rest of the crew does their thing. But Maddoc, you go through every single system on the ship. And to your knowledge, based on the scans you're getting, there are no more anomalous power readings. There are no bits of equipment where there shouldn't be. And you would also know, kind of as a bad news situation, that the strain of the shields in deflecting that asteroid, and that there are some minor fractures along the hull on the port side on deck 2.
Okay. That's it for bad news?
Yeah, that's it for bad news.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, unless you
so
count
much
not
worse.
finding anything bad news, so.
Eh. During this, did Reeve act funny at all?
No, he was about as enthusiastic as you've seen Reeve, which is somewhere between a moody teenager and a kind of a delinquent, to use the term. He does his job, but he definitely doesn't look happy doing it.
Okay. Oh yeah.
This is
I
our
forgot that he
Lieutenant
was-
Barclay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Said he was an ensign?
Yep, he is an ensign.
Um. Who's is it? Ujessa or is it Cyril that's head of security?
Technically, I think I made Cyril head of security, and Ujessa just mans tactical on the bridge.
Okay. So I'm going to send a full report to the captain. I'm also going to mention that Dure found something in Ensign Reeves, And then I'm also going to tell him that I'm going to let Surreal know. And then I'm going to tell Surreal, like, hey, Ensign Reeves, we received an anomalous scan from him. And I'm going to ask if there's a way that... Is Reeves new to the ship? Like, came with us, or has he been on it for a while?
He is a fairly recent transfer. He came on at Narendra Station as the Arcadia was being refit, so he's probably been on ship for, I would say, 3 to 4 months at this point.
Okay. I'm just gonna ask Surreal to kind of go through logs and see if anything weird stands out. If there was something if there was somewhere that he was that it didn't really make sense for him to be at, or if there was like a report made about him doing something offhanded.
Okay, fair question. I'll get back to you on that. Let's go to Ensign Monday. So, Ensign Monday, you've had the bridge for about 10 minutes at this point. It's actually kind of cool to be in the big chair. What you missed in terms of combat was the Orion used a bunch of disruptors and asteroids, and Richaud reverse engineered one of the asteroids and managed to scare the Orion off. Right now, you are currently still in the asteroid field, the training asteroid field, and there is a Steamrunner class vessel, the USS Verdant, that has arrived and is currently fixing the training ground.
Well, all right then. I guess I'll just sit there and ask for an update from the Steamrunner class ship as to how it's going. How's the fixing up going?
Okay. So you don't get the captain to reply to this, but one of probably the ops officer of the Verdant is going to send you a report that the all of the combat drones and all of the training equipment that are in this area should be fixed or replaced or otherwise managed or handled probably within the hour.
All right. Can we scan, keep, just like a precautionary scan, continuously going to make sure that the Orion don't return unannounced or, get the jump on us?
It's a fair question, or a fair course of action. Yeah, I'm going to say you don't need to roll for it, but I will keep in mind that you are continuously scanning.
Okay, then.
Cool. Did you want to do anything else, or can I go to the cabin?
You can go to the captain.
Okay. So, Captain, you've got about an hour to kill before Herona is available.
Right. So I'm in probably just in my office, reading all the reports that are being sent to me by the various teams that are investigating the ship. I'm curious though if I'm looking through the information I got from Admiral Haru about the Orion. Is there any of it that, now that I've gone up to him face to face, that seems misleading in those reports?
I would say roll me an insight plus command.
What's the difficulty?
We'll say a 2.
Insight command. Okay. And then I'm trying to think of any of my... I don't think any of my focuses apply. Cultural studies, no. Not infiltration, probably not.
Oh.
Maybe?
Nah.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Is that a complication? That is
That's one complication.
So, in reading the reports that Haru gave you, you don't get the sense that any of it's deliberately misleading, per se. But the complication that you get is that the reports, now that you're looking at them, have a discrepancy in the amount of information that is logged. Like, there's a noticeable gap in between certain star dates of Orion activity, probably within the last 2 weeks. The quote-unquote normal Orion activity that they see in the expanse from the station has been severely less than it usually is. So whether or not that's just the Orion, kind of winding down, or if that's a problem with the station's sensors, or any other number of things besides, you really don't know. But it would cause a small bit of suspicion, I would think.
I think I'd like to access some files from Starfleet, but I would like to make sure I'm not using the servers at Narendra Station.
Okay. What are you looking at?
I want to look at Orion activity in this sector.
Okay.
See if I can fill those gaps.
Sure enough, there's enough ships on station or coming in and out of Narendra Station. Sure enough, you do get a bit filled in on the information that's missing. About 3 days ago, so while you guys were still on the runabout, there was a sort of signature in space in the Shackleton Expanse, almost like a warp core implosion, but slightly less powerful. So probably a small ship went up. And the signature of the ship, best anyone could tell, it was Klingon in nature. But as far as the actual Orions themselves, nah. The logs on the ships about the station seem to coincide with the stations.
And there's no registry for that ship?
For the Klingon ship?
Yeah.
I could make one up, but...
okay.
Yeah. Not super important.
Is there someone I can contact in the Klingon Empire? Possibly someone in their exchange program, because I would have, at the very least, some kind of communication with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to see if they have records from this Klingon ship that they'd be willing to share.
Okay. Are you going to ask Ujessa to help you with this, or are you just going to go on your own?
I would call Ujessa in, yeah. Maybe she recognizes the ship's name.
Very good. So, as I frantically come up with a Klingon ship name, it's pretty easy with Ujessa's help to set up a communication to Klingon High Command, or at least a proxy of such. And you get a fairly disgruntled-looking individual. He's probably in his later years, so he's kind of got the gray going on. His ridges are very prominent, that sort of thing. But he more or less just kind of looks at you with disgust, almost like disgust at first. But when he sees Ujessa, he says, "Ah, Starfleet, you must be Ujessa's new captain. What is it I can do for you?"
Well, I'm researching an Orion plot near the Shackleton Expanse, and I noticed that about 3 days ago a Klingon ship, and I give the registry, was destroyed there. I was wondering if you'd be able to share any information about that with me. I believe it might be beneficial to both Starfleet and the Klingon Empire to get to the bottom of this.
Okay. So he says, "Of course, the Negtah." One moment. And he kind of looks off to the side of the view screen, and he taps at a console. And after a few moments, he says, Yes, the Negta lost with all hands. Last we knew, it was being attacked by 3 Orion Corsairs, is what we were told. The only survivor that we were able to recover was a individual known as Rezak, and he was, well, he still is in a coma from his injuries.
Is he being cared for on Kronos?
Oh, no, he's at Narendra Station.
Well, if he gets better, I'll look forward to meeting with him. Thank you very much for your help.
Of course. And victory or death. And then he kind of, cuts the comms. And Jessica kind of sighs and says, honestly, sir, that's probably the most courteous I've ever seen him be towards a member of Starfleet.
Oh, it was courteous enough.
So, did you want to do anything else before we have Herona come aboard?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Open question to everyone. Did anyone else want to do anything?
No.
Oh, should we? I would catch Ensign Monday up because he was not in that senior officer meeting because he had the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And also he wasn't here. Basically, we found out that the Orions are not only set this trap, but the Arcadia was sabotaged. That's why our phaser array went out. And so we think that there might be Orion presence on the station and possibly even on the Verdant outside. And I would relay this all to you in private.
Yeah. I see. And we don't suspect that any of the crew of the Arcadia could be working for the Orions.
We don't have any information to suggest that they are, but we are looking into it. And Ujesa, along with a few others, including the counselor, were going through the ship, investigating, and the doctor was conducting tests.
All right. Thank you, Captain.
Okay. Cool. We're going to cut to the transporter room, or at least one of them anyway. You've got 2. Take your pick. We cut to the transporter room, and as requested, Lieutenant Dore is there with the captain. And there is a nameless NPC behind the control console. And the nameless NPC says, "The captain's ready to transport whenever you're ready, sir."
Energize.
So there's a kind of blue light and a faint hum as the captain of the Verdant, Captain Herona, is materialized in your transporter bay. And now that you're seeing her not through a view screen, you see that she has definitely seen more battle than anyone you've seen before. She's got quite a number of scars, and it's not like she's putting them on display, but she's definitely worn to kind of qualify it. But she takes a look around. She steps off the transporter pad, goes right up to you, Captain, and extends a hand. And she says, "Captain Tahan, it is a pleasure to meet you in person."
I take her hand. Likewise, welcome aboard the Arcadia. And if you'll forgive my the rudeness, I would have to request that my doctor scan you. We've had a complication on board, and I want to make sure you're safe.
She raises an eyebrow, but says, "I understand. Lieutenant Dore, was it? Why don't you go ahead and get this over with?" And on cue, Dore will kind of flip open his medical tricorder, pull out that little scanning instrument, and begin, scanning her up and down. This goes on for maybe about 15 seconds before he closes the tricorder and says, "She's clean, Captain."
Thank you, Doctor. And I'll show, I'll gesture towards the door. It's like, let's head to the conference room. I have something of grave importance to discuss with you.
Okay. Did you want any of your senior officers or supporting characters to come with you to the conference room?
Yeah, let's have our main characters of this television show come with.
Okay. So all senior officers are called to the conference room. So we cut back to the conference room. This time, Monday is present. I wish I knew where Monday's token was. He's kind of disappeared on me. But yeah, you all are now back in the conference room with Captain Hirona there as well. And once everyone's seated, Hirona just kind of looks very questioningly at Captain Tahan.
To put briefly, Narendra Station is compromised as the Orions. We suspect the Orions are involved. I found missing reports that Narendra Station has failed to give me in their dossier, and our own phaser array had been sabotaged sometime at Narendra Station during refits or prior to that.
So,
And I'll go through the evidence and hand it to her, and I wanted to make sure that you were aware of this issue.
So Hirona looks over the information you've handed her, and her more or less neutral face kind of stiffens up and almost becomes a stoic frown. And she says, "This is disturbing news, to say the least. I share your concern, Captain, but it's just a little inconceivable that Narendra Station could be compromised in such a manner. If that's the case, the Arcadia may not be the only ship affected by this."
Unfortunately, that might be the case. Maddoc, can you explain the way our ship was sabotaged so that she might review her ship as well?
Hi, Captain. I'm going to walk over to the holoprojector, and you're going to see a device pop up, probably about 6 to 7 inches long, couple inches deep, maybe an inch or so, maybe 3 or 4 inches wide, and I'm going to have it like come apart to where you see the internals of it. This device, it's not exactly Orion of nature, but in my experience, I have seen Orions use it. It holds a corrosive acid inside of it. It can be triggered by a remote code. It can be triggered by, for instance, once our phaser banks got to a certain degree, it could have activated it to where it started corroding it. There's different ways of it being set up that it would release the acid or whatever else is internally within it. Sometimes it shows up on scans, but until it's activated, it should be visible. Once it's activated, though, the corrosive acid also destroys the device. So, unless you know what you're looking for, there's a chance that you could think it's just a happy coincidence. Not that, it's exactly happy to get sabotaged by one of these bastards. And then I'll kind of turn it off and sit back down.
So Hirona is going to kind of nod and take all of this in. And she'll observe the fact that this device, I assume it has a unique power signature, yes?
My best guess is that if it's set to be remotely triggered, more than likely yes, but if it's just set to activate whenever a phaser bank gets to a certain degree, then there's a possibility that it won't. I mean, these devices, unless they're found before they're activated, we haven't been able to get a lot of information on them.
I see. She looks down at the report that she has in hand and she says, Well, I will, of course, take this to my own chief of security right away. Have you, and she looks to Captain Tahan at this point, she says, have you informed Admiral Haru at this point?
I have not, for fear that she may be compromised. The reports I received from her concealed the destruction of a Klingon ship 3 days ago by Orion Corsairs, much like the one we drove off earlier today. That doesn't mean she's aware of this, but it would be foolish to assume that she is safe.
And she almost starts to, rub her temples in thought, almost as if she has like a slight headache. And she says, I mean, I've only known Admiral Haru for a little over 3 months at this point, but she doesn't strike me as the sort to be easily compromised. I think it's probably the case that simply she was unaware of the discrepancy in the sensors or in the sensor logs.
Perhaps the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. I agree.
Something along those lines, yes, but I believe it prudent that at least you or I, probably you, would be best, have a secure channel with her and bring her up to speed.
Okay. Well, we do know that the Orion pheromone only affects the males of species, but my engineer, Lieutenant Maddoc, did point out that that is not the only method through which the Orions coerce people. Could be a family member, hostage, anything.
Sorry to interject out of character. The Orions actually do affect women as well. They just make them irritable and headachy.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. So Harona kind of realizes she's rubbing her head and she says, oh, well, that's kind of bad timing, I guess. But no, to my knowledge, I can't say that either myself or anyone in my crew have come into contact with an Orion. Um, if it's all the same to you, Captain, I'd like to get back to my ship and get the sensor sweeps underway as well as a medical scan of everyone aboard.
Of course. I'll contact Admiral Haru in the meantime.
Of course. And she stands from the conference table. She nods appreciatively at everyone present, and then, since she's the captain, she'll just go ahead and leave the conference room behind, unless anyone wants to stop her.
The rest of the crew, you're dismissed as well. And out of game, we've been playing for about 2 hours now. Would it be okay if we took a quick break?
Yeah, I was going to say this is probably a good point for us to take a 5-minute break. Well, you know what? Let's just make it an 8-minute break. So be back here in 8 minutes.
All right.
All right, let me mute everything here so I can go on my own break. All right, stream. We're on break for 8 minutes. So if you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch, go ahead and you can skip through the next probably 3 to 8 minutes. Just watch for the glowing Discord symbols. But yeah, be back shortly. All right, I'm back. So, Rochelle, are you still here? Guessing not. Alright, well. Guess this is a good chance for me to say for stream. I appreciate you guys watching, and hopefully I'm entertaining everyone. So, yeah. Oh, Tahan, it looks like you're back. You here?
Oh, yep, I'm back.
Cool. I did want to ask, kind of out of character question. In terms of, how do I say this without actually getting back into the game? How thorough did you want Ujessa and Dore to be in their scans? Like, do you want them to basically drag everyone to the sick bay and scan them that way, or did you just want to do a quote-unquote good enough scan? Because they can do it either way.
Yeah, just they could sweep through all 8 decks, but dragging each person to sickbay is probably a little too much.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Because obviously the longer time you spend may not be an efficient use of your time, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. And so it's her, Sorrel, and the counselor?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's Ujessa, Cyril, Nalan, the counselor, and then Dore as well. So they're a quartet
Okay.
at the moment.
So I'm just trying to equate myself with everyone's role on the ship for like the purposes of ship combat. So I know that Maddoc has the role of chief engineer. Risho's ability was ops, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's up? What's up with ops?
Oh, I was just so that I know what everyone can do in combat. I was just making sure that you have the role of operations manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, my headset back on. My position. Most of us are Central Time.
So I'm hoping I'm not taking like too much time doing the investigating stuff, but it felt kind of prudent in the moment. But if the game ever goes too slow, let me know and I'll shut up.
No, I always like spending time. If people want to RP like that, I'm not going to say no to it. Oh, that's what I should do while we wait for Monday. I should fix Ujessa's sheet. Yeah, let me do that before I forget. So, where's her sheet? There it is. So she should actually have 9 control and 7 insight and 8 presence. Alright. Should be fixed now. Alright. Give Monday another minute.
Does Ujessa qualify as a supporting character then?
Yeah. I would say Ujessa is probably going to get a value or a focus at the end of the session.
Okay.
I vote for shipboard tactical.
And I will say, we'll probably do the spotlight milestone off the recording, just because that could go for a little bit. But hopefully everyone had at least a couple moments to glance at 294 and figure out who might be a good person to nominate for a spotlight milestone.
And we can each nominate one person other than ourselves?
I believe so, yes.
Very cool.
All right. Well, we'll just go ahead and pick back up since it is 5:20 my time. So, Tahan, are you going to go to your own office for this? You're going to go to your quarters? Where are you going?
I'll be in my office.
Okay. So, do you immediately just try and raise the Admiral, or?
I'll put through a secured channel, but yeah, I don't have anything else to do before that.
Okay. So, you establish a secure channel with Narendra Station. I don't know why it's so hard for me to say it. But after a few moments, Admiral Haru, the Cation woman, comes up onto the screen, and she says, Captain Tahan, I heard that there was some Orion in your vicinity. Is everything okay?
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Everything is fine. We've driven them out of the area. Admiral, have you read... I was rereading through those reports of the Orion activity in the area, the ones you gave me. Have you read those yourself?
I glanced at them, yes. Is there something amiss?
In fact, there are. Missing from them 3 days ago, a Klingon ship, I wrote it in my notes. The Kegta. Negta was lost when attacked by 3 Orion Corsairs. Somehow this was omitted from the report I received. Additionally, I found evidence of sabotage aboard my own ship, and my engineer suspects that it is Orion technology.
So, Haru, it's always hard to gauge a reaction on occasion, but she frowns kind of very noticeably, and she says, "This is disturbing, to say the least." I'm pulling up my own logs here on the station, and you see her kind of tapping on a pad off to the side, and she says, "You are completely correct that for whatever reason we don't have any sensor logs on the destruction of the Negta. This shouldn't happen, Captain."
As a way to possibly gain some momentum, but can I get an insight check on her to see? I guess it'd be insight security, or maybe command.
I think insight command.
To see if she's just putting on an act for me.
Okay. We'll say a difficulty 1.
All right. And then I don't believe there's a focus for this, so...
Yeah, team dynamics, definitely not.
What? Okay.
All right, so
success?
You get a momentum. So she seems to be on the level. Just based on her body language and her tone, you've brought to her attention something that does not sit well with her at all.
Okay. Now, Admiral, I imagine you'll find even more distress at the fact that this sabotage was most likely done while the Arcadia was being refit on station.
There's a noticeable pause as she processes all this and tries to come up with an Admiral appropriate response. And eventually she replies, "Captain, I'd like the Arcadia to return to Narendra Station at once. If what you say is true, and I pray to whatever gods may exist that it's not, we may need to coordinate your own logs with that of the stations to verify who may have had access to your affected system. In the meantime, as you're headed back here, I will have my own medical team, my own security personnel begin sweeping the station to see if we have any unexpected Orion guests."
If you wish, I'll begin sending those logs over secured channel.
She thinks about it for a moment and says, "No, it is probably best that we keep that sort of thing on a face-to-face basis."
Okay.
Is there anything else I should be made aware of, Captain?
No, I think the Orion infiltration will about do it.
She gives like a very weary smile, but she says, "Of course. Well, I'll see you in about an hour or so, Captain." And the communications channel goes dark.
Okay. We're not still at... We're at, what, yellow alert now?
Yeah, I'd say you're probably a yellow alert.
Okay. Captain to bridge, plot a course for Narendra Station. Senior officers, to your posts.
All right. So everyone is called to station. And unless anyone has anything they feel like they want to do, we'll go ahead and skip to the next scene.
Yeah. I will, though, download those logs onto a personal data pad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll kick you over to this map. So back at Narendra Station, as you arrive, you notice that there are, like, you knew there were a few ships orbiting the station when you first came in, but you now notice that there are a significant number, both arriving and otherwise about the station. Almost as if Haru has ordered in every ship that is in her purview to report to station. So the Arcadia, Monday you maneuver her so that she is in line with the rest of the ships. And yeah, you guys are now at station. What would you like to do?
Well, as a rules thing, I made sure to refresh the shields at power, and I think we also lost a momentum by now, I assume?
Yeah, you lost momentum.
Okay, we're down to 3 now.
Has Surreal gotten back to me on anything regarding Reeves?
As far as he knows, and as far as the logs show, Reeve had never gone near that plasma conduit. When you took him and Alon to check it out in the first place, that was his first time ever near the thing.
Okay.
Well, I'll be expected to board the station. My second in command would be Ujesa. She has the bridge.
Okay. So, as the captain beams to the station, Ujesa is going to take up the chair, and, some nameless shirt will come up and handle comms for her. And after a few seconds, the comm officer will kind of turn and say, "Ensign Monday, you're getting an incoming communication. Would you like to take it here, or..." Oh, did we lose Monday?
No, I'm here, sorry. I just missed the first bit. What did you
Oh,
want
sorry. Basically, there's an incoming communication for you. Did you want to take it on the bridge, or did you want to go somewhere more private?
Is it a personal com?
Seems that way.
Okay. Captain, is it okay if I take this in my quarters?
Ujesa nods and... Oh, go ahead.
Okay. No, that's good.
Okay. Ujesa kind of nods and says, "Of course, Ensign."
Okay, thank you. I'll go and take it in my quarters.
Okay. So, when you arrive in your quarters, there's, of course, that awaiting connection screen that's typical of Star Trek. And when you activate your side of the message, or quote-unquote pick up, on the other side of the screen is a member of your family. More specifically, this is, we'll say, an uncle of yours that helps run the family transportation business.
Oh, okay.
And we'll call him Uncle Ulrich. And Ulrich kind of says, "Monday, it's been a while. How you doing?"
It's good to see you, Uncle. I'm doing all right. Blending into the Starfleet life as much as I can. A few more rules and regulations than I'm used to, but I get to fly some big ships.
Yes, I'm sure that glorified sensor platform they've got you flying around is quite a treat to fly. But perhaps to business. And he gets a little bit serious. And he says, I've heard through some certain channels that you might have run into some Orion.
Is this a secure line?
It can be if you make it one.
Yeah, make it secure.
Okay. So there's a very brief moment as the screen flashes and switches to a secure channel.
Can I do the same my end?
Yeah.
Okay, then I do. Yeah, we bumped into them during a training exercise. They opened fire on us and it sabotaged the training field itself. Why? What have you heard?
Well, and he kind of looks around to make sure that, even though the line's secure, that there's no one within, hearing distance. He almost whispers. He says, well, I don't know if you remember Sven, that Orion captain that we had dealings with about 5 years ago. Apparently he's
vaguely.
Yeah, apparently he's gotten himself a bit more power and command. He's I really shouldn't be saying this, but he's kind of running the operations out of the Shackleton Expanse at this point.
I see. How much information you got on Sven? Have you got anything about what he's running at the moment? What ship?
I don't know exactly where he's operating out of or what ship he might be on, but I do know that every single operation or every single action the Orion takes goes through him.
I see. So he's the big cheese.
Yes, the one with big cojones.
Uncle,
Yes.
if you can get some information on what kind of rig he's running at the moment and get that back to me, that'd be pretty good. Because I've got a feeling we're going to be looking for this Sven.
Of course, I will. I will inquire discreetly and see if I can come up with anything.
Yeah. Warp signatures or any star charts. Anything, really. Anything that can give us a hand, that'd be fantastic.
Of course, and before I sign off, I again would like to say it's a pleasure seeing you again.
Well, of course it is. I'm your favorite nephew.
That you are. And yeah, the line will go dark.
Okay. I'll go back to the bridge.
Okay. So let's deal with the captain meeting Haru. Do you bring any supporting characters or any of the senior staff with you?
Does any of them, do any of you guys want to come with?
Am I where the captain is now, or?
Well, the captain is kind of walking towards the transporter room. So,
Okay. Yeah, I would have missed him.
I mean, if you really wanted to, you could intercept him and go with. I'm not going to say that you couldn't.
No, it's alright. I would have missed him.
Okay. So it sounds like you're on your own for this one, Captain.
Yeah.
All right. So you beam over to the station, and you quickly find your way to the Admiral's office.
Actually,
oh, go ahead.
May I? I'm going to take Soril with me.
Okay. So Cyril will join you. Anything you want him to bring in particular?
No. I mean, I assume we always have our standard complement of, like, our Type 2 phaser or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nothing in addition to the norm.
Okay. All right, so you and Cyril beam over to the station and it's very easy for you to make your way towards the Admiral's office. And you see that, in particular, there are 2 yellow shirts standing guard outside of her office. And as you come up closer, one of them says, Captain, do you have business with the Admiral?
Yes, I do.
Does she know you're coming?
She called me in.
All right. What was your name, sir?
Captain Athos Dahan.
Of course. And he doesn't open the door, but he does tap his comm badge, and he says, Admiral, there's a Captain Tahan here to see you. And then after a second, Haru's like, yes, let him in, let him in. And the security officers stand aside and push the button which opens the door. And as you and Cyril step inside, you see that the Admiral's office is, I wouldn't call it swanky, but it's definitely much better than your office on the Arcadia. It's got a fairly nice dark oak desk that is sitting before a large window that stares out into space. And there's a quite number of couches and coffee tables. And actually, I would say that this room is probably about the size of your quarters, if not bigger. So it's a pretty big room for an admiral. And Admiral Haru herself is currently seated, but as you walk in with Cyril, she stands and says, Captain, good to see you. She turns to Cyril and she says, Lieutenant, I don't think we've had the pleasure of meeting. And Cyril kind of nods his head in that Vulcan way and says, yes, Admiral, my name is Cyril. And Haru says, yes, very good. Why don't you all have a seat and we can get to business.
I will sit down.
Okay. So, you sit on the opposite side of the desk of her, and she sits down as well. And she says, well, I have some good news, and I have some bad news. But before I get to that, did you bring what I'd asked for?
Yes, I'll hand her the data pad.
Okay. So she'll take the data pad, look it over, and set it down. She says, while we haven't been able to discover if there are any Orion aboard as of yet, we have been able to determine a likely candidate that may have been responsible for your sabotage.
Who was it?
It was a traitor that came through, a man known as Duskmaul. A Tellarite, if it matters. And suffice to say, he may not have done the actual planting himself, but in checking in with the dealings he made on station, he dealt a lot of Orion equipment. And I think that he might be our best bet to finding our connection. The only problem is that he left station about 2 hours ago, which coincides with your attack by the Orions. It's I don't want to say it's a coincidence, but the timing's just too good.
Do you know what vessel he left aboard?
He left aboard his shuttle, his personal shuttle. As far as I'm aware, the thing can maybe make warp 4.
And do you have a warp vector for him?
Of course. And she taps at a console and says, yes, he left it vector, and she gives you the vector.
Well, I was struggling to find exactly the right course of action for anyone to do, but my instinction is to go after this Duskmaul.
She nods and says, I believe that would be a prudent course of action. As of this moment, Captain, I'm placing you on detached duty from your normal mission. You are to seek out this Duskmaul and bring him in for questioning.
Okay. Have you been able to identify any other weaknesses in the station? Any other saboteurs or Orion connections?
Not as of yet, but as you may have noticed on your way in, we've brought every single ship to station so that we all might undergo the same inspection.
Okay.
Also, Captain, I know I just placed you on detached duty, but it would be prudent for you and the Arcadia to remain on station for the next 6 hours so that we can have our own teams go through and verify that there are no further problems with your ship.
All right. I'll allow my crew to assist you with that.
Of course, of course. And then she looks at Cyril and almost questioningly looks at him and says, "Did you have anything to add, Lieutenant?" And this is where, out of character, I asked, did you want Cyril to say anything in particular?
No, he's honestly with me because he's a security officer and more immune to the Orion pheromone than I am.
Okay. So Cyril just kind of shakes his head and says, "No, Admiral, I have nothing to add at the moment." And Haru nods and says, "Alrighty then. Well, barring any further explosions, you two are dismissed."
The data pad I gave him, did it also have like all the warp signatures for those Orions leaving that nebula?
It did.
Okay. All right, I guess I'll go back to the ship with Cyril.
Okay. So we once again enter in a period of time where we can do pretty much anything that the characters want to do, unless the captain or another senior officer wants to call a meeting of some sort.
I mean, other than let the crew know it's going to go on for the next 6 hours, I don't have anything to say.
Okay.
I'll try and track down the captain.
Okay, yeah, let's do that before I do the greater scene. So, Monday, you are able to find the captain pretty shortly after he arrives back on the Arcadia, and you catch him somewhere in a corridor on Deck 2 between the turbo lift and the transporter room.
Captain, glad I pull you there.
It's Monday.
Don't ask me how I know this, but I think I might have a name for the Orion that attacked us, or maybe involved with attacking us. He goes by the name of Sven. He's to be a bit of a low-level member of the syndicate. He's worked his way up the pirate ranks, if you like, and he's become... Well, he's claimed the Shackling expense as his own bit of the territory. If it's the Sven I'm thinking of, he's a bit ruthless. He'll see us as a big scalp, something to brag to the other captains about.
I want to thank you for telling me this, but you have to understand why I would ask how you know that, given the circumstances.
Well, that's understandable. I used to work for my family's transport and business before I joined up Starfleet. Just family matters, I guess. You don't run a transport and business without crossing a few Orions during your time.
Understood. Is your family okay?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me know that. Once we're done here at the station, it's going to be our job to bring whoever this is in, and if it is Sven, we'll get him.
Just, don't play it down. I know the Orions are seen as something of a strange race, but there's no one more ruthless than the Orions out there in space. Klingons have their honor that hold them back. The Orions, they don't have any honor. It makes them more dangerous. Everything is a target. And the bigger the scalp, the bigger the risk they'll take.
Well, ultimately, that's going to be their downfall.
Ensign Monday just, remains a bit quiet and just does a little silent nod without really agreeing with what the captain's saying.
We'll get him, and then I'll continue walking wherever I was going.
Okay. So that was good. Let's do from the bottom up now. So for Rochelle, did you want to do anything with your time?
Yeah, actually. I'd like to go see our chief medical officer.
Okay. So you going to meet him in sickbay, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go into sickbay and immediately you see your short as hell chief medical officer, and of note he has like almost like it looks like an owl, like a great barn owl, and it's currently perched on his shoulder. And as you walk in, he kind of turns and says, "Ah, Ensign, I wasn't expecting anyone right now. One moment." And he takes the
If I'm
owl.
interrupting, I can come back later.
Oh, no, it's no trouble at all. He takes the owl-like creature off of his shoulder and puts it back into its cage in the glorified closet. And he comes back out and he says, "What can I do for you?"
Well, you did say during the tour that you wanted to do a physical on each of the senior officers, and wondering if now might be appropriate time for that.
Of course, of course. Just have a seat over here on the bio bed and we can get started.
Risho will sit down and
So you sit down, and we'll say that the physical itself is probably about a 30-minute affair, and it's about as thorough as the one you got when you were back in Starfleet Academy. So it's pretty damn thorough. And at the end of it, Doré kind of puts away the tricord, and he says, "Well, you seem to be in perfect health, Rochelle. I have... excuse me. I wasn't able to find any discrepancies, or hell, I couldn't even find any inflammation on you. So
good.
You're good.
I did have another question.
Of course.
Answer it. I know the Vulcans are immune to the Orion pheromones. Wondering, given my particular physiology, if you tell how I might react.
He looks around the sick bay just to make sure that nobody else is in the room, because he understands, basically what you're saying. He says, if you're asking if your Romulan half may provide you some protection, honestly, I'm not sure. My gut says that it might provide some, but at the same time, it's not like I have Romulan medical databases to call upon.
Understood. I just was curious.
So it's a very good thing to be out here. Curiosity, as they say, I believe, saves the cat?
Yes, that's how that expression goes.
Oh, very good.
No, it is not.
I was worried I butchered it. It's such a human expression.
Very much so. Well, thank you, Doctor. I do appreciate time.
Well, just do me a favor. Have the others come in at some point. I'd rather not have to order them to my sick bay.
Do what I can. Kind of all out right.
All right. Well, he nods appreciatively at you. Was there anything else you wanted to do with your time?
Not so much. Just free time.
Okay.
Still working on the holodeck program that he was going to make, but other than that, bye.
Okay. Monday, did you have anything?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll see if I can find Ensign Risho.
Okay. I would say that you're able to locate Risho. Either he'll come back onto the bridge, or you'll just run into him somewhere in between the holodeck and sickbay, whichever is convenient.
Okay. If it isn't Ensign Casanova, how's it going, Risho?
Doing pretty well. How about yourself, Monday? There was some fancy flying during the encounter with the Orions.
Thanks. That's nothing. So, who's it gonna be? Is it gonna be?
Sorry?
Who's it gonna be? Is it gonna be the Klingon, the giant lady that was in the holodeck, both of those have got the eye on you, and that girl in the engineering, she definitely had both of her eyes on you.
I'm. It's not really why I'm here. It's about
Hey, look,
right now.
don't worry about it. It's the ears. They love the ears.
Yeah, Klingons love the Romulan ears. No denying that.
So well done. Wait, Romulan? You're Romulan?
Half Romulan.
I thought they were Vulcan ears.
A lot of people make that mistake. Yeah, it's the forehead. You can tell.
You know, I didn't even notice the forehead, but yeah, you're right. You do. You got the ridges.
A
So,
little bit.
is there any way you can tell the difference in the ears? Do like Vulcan ears curl one way and Romulans curl the other?
I mean, I actually haven't really put much of a study into it. I was raised by humans. I never really met many Vulcans other than when I started going to the academy.
Ah,
And I certainly never met any other Romulans.
no?
Well, not that I can remember anyway.
That's it's pretty fascinating, in fact. So, how did you end up with, I guess, human foster parents?
But
If you don't mind that.
they're actually foster parents are my aunt and her wife. Yeah, they're just their sister. I was placed in her care after turned over to the Federation.
Wow. You were just turned over?
Yeah, it's on my record.
Like a prisoner of war?
No, I was an infant. A Romulan woman infiltrated Federation space to meet the Federation. I really have any other information about it, unfortunately. Either classified or known.
Rousseau. That's pretty fascinating. I mean, the reason I joined Starfleet was for the protection for my family, and I guess, in a way, that woman who risked her life to bring you over the border, she must have thought the same thing.
I really couldn't say. I don't know if I was related to her or why she did what she did.
You don't even know who it was?
She refused to give her name to the Federation. Eventually, as far as I know, they determined she wasn't a threat.
Wow. And you've never tried to track her down?
I mean, that would involve going to Romulan space, I assume, and that would be treason for one, and violate all sorts of treaties, and I wouldn't even know where to begin to look. I don't speak Romulan.
And someone like checks over your shoulder to see if the corridor's empty.
Yeah, it's
Then leads over to Rousseau and goes, well, look, if you ever need a pilot, you know.
You just want an excuse to take the captain's yacht out for a joyride.
Hey, that thing is going to gather dust and rust if those engines don't take over anytime soon, okay?
I'm not arguing.
But seriously, I can get us a ship or you know, something not related to Federation, civilian class. I can, if you ever feel the urge to track down that person who saved your life, just let me know. I'll lend a hand.
I love it. I love it when characters RP like that. It gives me the warm fuzzies. Before we cut away from you two, I do want to kind of ask as a point of order. Rousseau, do you go into the holodeck with Monday and start working on your thing, or do you wait for Monday to walk away before you go back to work on your holodeck novel?
Yeah, we could say that caught up to me right as I was entering the holodeck.
Okay.
Rousseau is kind of the kind of person who kind of absent-mindedly works on things because he thinks multitasking actually works. So he'll start bringing up the program, and it's not a holo novel; it's a training program.
Okay.
I'll start the assets and, as he's talking, and just kind of absent-mindedly going through various options and that.
Okay. So Monday, you would at least see that Rousseau is building some sort of special program, just for
It was a
later.
martial arts one, wasn't it?
Sorry?
It was a martial arts one, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, he practices that martial art that Riker practices.
The one where they wear the blind helmets and they've got those like polearm things.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name of it.
it's like Akujutsu or something.
Yeah, something strange like that. Yeah, but cool. So yeah, that was good. Let's cut to Maddoc. So Maddoc, what are you doing during this time?
I guess I just want to do like a double and triple check on all the engines.
Okay.
And then I want to pull up logs of the people from the station who worked on the ship for the refit, and see if any of those names or see if anything stands out. And then after that, go see DeRay and see if we can figure out what's in Reeve's head.
Okay. I'll say for the first bit, you get quite an extensive bit of names. It would probably take you a good hour to actually sit down and go through them all. But as far as what's going on with Reeve, let's cut to Maddoc, Reeve, and Doré in sickbay. Along the way, Reeve is he hasn't said anything to Maddoc, but he definitely doesn't look thrilled that he's been brought to sickbay. And as you both filter in, Doré kind of looks over from his little workbench where he was working with some chemicals, and he says, Maddoc and Reeve, I believe, yes? What can I do for you two?
I'm just gonna kind of tap my head and hope the doctor picks up on it.
Oh, he does. He does. And he says, Ensign Reeve, would you kindly have a seat over here? And Reeve gives this very deep sigh, and he goes over to sit on a biobed. I think I should note, because I can't quite remember if I mentioned Ensign Reeve's species. He's a Bajoran, and he has that special earring thing, which I also can't remember the name of off the top of my head. It's technically against uniform code, but no one's really called him out on it yet. But of note, Doré kind of takes out his medical tricorder, begins scanning Reeve, and he says, actually this kind of might explain a few of the ensign's discrepancy in duties. And he looks to Maddoc and he says, would you care to know this in private, or...
I mean, if it's affecting Reeves, he should know.
Fair enough. Ensign Reeve, I think you should know that perhaps I should ask this question first. Have you ever had a stroke or a seizure or anything of that nature? And Reeve kind of almost scowls and he says, I fainted once, but what does that have to do with anything? And Doré just kind of nods in that kind of knowing doctor way, and he says, well, that would explain it then. You have a lasting concussion, which is very odd. Did you see anyone after you fainted? And Reeve just kind of shakes his head and says, no, honestly, doctor, I kind of hate you all. I don't like being in sickbay. And Doré says, that's understandable, but you should know that this is a fairly easy fix. Hell, it might improve your mood a little bit. And he'll walk over, pick up a new instrument, and he'll walk back over and he says, if you'll just kindly stand still, or stay as still as you can, I will go ahead and correct the problem. And as Doré's working on Reeve, he asks Maddoc, will you be staying for your physical?
Oh yeah, I forgot we needed to do that. I get. I'll tap on my comm badge. Chief Alon, is there anything that needs to be done, or anything I'm needed? Anything you think I might be needed for, or you think you could handle things for a little bit?
Lieutenant Maddoc, I believe that we have control over everything that is going on, including the station's crew that is going through all of our systems. Unless you wish to personally oversee the installation of the new plasma conduit for the port phasers, I believe we have everything under control.
I'll leave that in your hands. So these comm badges, are they everyone in the vicinity here's, or is it just this person here?
I've always kind of wondered about that myself. I will say it could be either or, simply because it's a minutia detail, and it wouldn't be that hard to change between the two.
It's also really consistent on the shows.
Yeah, I mean it goes both ways. So,
so I guess I'll flip the switch to make it to where only he can hear. Once they're done, I want everything checked again, and if there's anything that looks like it's been tampered with, as in like being sabotaged again, immediately alert station security and immediately alert Surreal, and then we'll go from there.
of course, that would be the most logical course of action. All right. So, Doré finishes up with Reeve, and Reeve still has a terrible look on his face, but he looks much less like he's got to stick up his ass. Not much, mind you, but it's a subtle enough change that you'd still pick up on it. And Doré says, "Well, Ensign Reeve, you're all done." And then, without any prodding, Reeve almost jumps to his feet and starts beelining for the door unless Maddoc stops him.
As he's walking by, I'll just say, "Go." I'll just kind of look at Doré. Is he good for duty, or should he rest for a little bit?
Take it easy for the next couple of hours.
All right. Just go to quarters. If we need you, we'll call you. If we need you, we'll call you, Reeves.
Thank you, Lieutenant. And he'll nod approvingly, and he'll head out of sickbay. And Doré motions to the same bed, and he says, "Well, Maddoc, if you take a seat, we can get this over with."
Walk over and take a seat.
Okay. So, very much the same as when Rochelle got his. You get a clean bill of health. And you are not secretly a changeling, unless I completely missed that in your backstory.
No, I'm secretly a Romulan. You missed that. I'll stand up and just kind of ask Doc, you have anyone else you want me to send your way, or?
Well, if you run into Ensign Monday or the Captain, I would appreciate seeing them in here. But I understand with everyone aboard and the recent kerfluffle that you have important business elsewhere.
I mean, it's not like we're going anywhere. I could probably try to find Ensign Monday, but I'm sure it'll get around. You can get around to calling him in. If that's it, I'll be back at engineering.
Of course. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you for seeing to my ensign.
Of course. Anytime. And so, yeah. I'm assuming at this point you just kind of go back to engineering and supervise.
Supervise. Make sure no one's sabotaging my ship again. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then finally, we come to Tahan. So, Tahan, what are you doing?
Well, would have gone to my office for a bit. I might have had the sword hung up on the wall somewhere by now, and a little restless. Honestly, I'm having to wait 6 extra hours while that Orion's getting away is kind of getting to me. But I do realize we probably are better off having both of our phaser arrays. So after maybe a few minutes, I'll just get up and start walking the decks of the bridge, watching the repairs get underway, kind of just not directly interfering, just watching everyone get stuff done.
Okay. We'll make a scene out of this. So you actually run into Heliong again. She catches you probably somewhere around like deck 3 as you're, walking around. And she's coming out of stellar cartography. And she says, "Oh, Captain, it's a pleasure to see you. Are you coming to inspect the stellar cartography, or are you just doing the rounds?"
Just making the rounds.
Would you mind if I walked with you?
I would not.
Okay. So, she joins you on the walk, and she says, "Our recent bout with the Orions made me wonder. You would know this as the captain better than I, but do you know if everyone aboard has personal phaser training?"
It is required at the academy, although I assume that some of the enlisted may only have the basics. Why do you ask?
Well, it occurred to me that if we were boarded at any time, we don't exactly have an extensive security staff here. We have Cyril and a couple others, but other than that, I just feel like if we're ever boarded, we should have everyone have at least a standard level of phaser capability.
All right. Well, we don't have time to train everyone before we leave, but we could go through the duty roster and select any individuals who have had the least training and have them report for a brief refresher.
Well, I didn't mean that it had to happen all at once. I had envisioned this would probably take a couple weeks to get through everyone, and we would use the holodeck for this as well.
Well, I think you just volunteered for a new project.
She smiles and nods her head and says, "I believe I did."
All right. I approve.
Excellent. Well, Captain, I had nothing else unless you had anything for me. I'll get back to duty.
Carry on.
All right. So she, stops following you and heads back to parts unknown. So I tell you what, this is probably a good stopping point for the stream, simply because we now got to do the spotlight milestone. So let me kill the stream. So stream, if you're watching, bye-bye.